Hey, this is Matt from Speedscale. In this brief demo, I'm going to show you how to observe a broken API call in a production system and then actually debug it in VS Code on your local machine with a perfect copy of all the production data. I'm going to do this without breaking anything, and I'm going to do this without disrupting production in a repeatable way. Now, this sounds like magic, but bear with me, it'll make sense by the end. Now, if you're a developer, you're familiar with looking at your IDE or VS Code and trying to run a microservice that depends on other microservices. Now, most of the time, that's not going to work because you don't have a test environment and you don't have test data. But if you're using Speedscale, you don't need those things because Speedscale will automatically generate them. So when I run my debugger normally without Speedscale, I get things like can't connect to database because even if I'm running a local database like Postgres, I don't actually have the right data in it. So let's go fix that. I'm going to jump into Speedscale and I'm going to go into our service list. Now, once a Speedscale collector is deployed, it'll start showing up in this list, and it's going to start looking at all the network traffic going in and out of the production system and building a model for how it works. Now, I'm going to look at the user service because that's the one I'm focused on, and I see a variety of calls going into that service and out of that service. Now, I'm actually looking at production. This is not a replacement for your monitoring tool, but it does some of the same things. I'm going to see a particular call which goes to my AI welcome endpoint, and I see what the request is, I see the response bodies, and then I know that I need some of this data is not correct. Okay, so I want to go and run it locally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 15 minutes of production and I'm going to make a perfect replica. I'm not configuring anything. This is just based upon a network listener that I deployed in about 30 seconds. I hit save. Now I have a replica of the environment. Now when I go back to VS Code, I have some very different options available to me thanks to the Speedscale VS Code extension. So once I have this extension, I have a different kind of debugger that I can start. And when I run this debugger, it's going to replicate that production system. And here's the snapshot that I just saved. So this is 15 minutes of production. It's going to stand up the Postgres, or at least look like it's doing that, on my local laptop. So I start that. I see Speedscale starts up. It's downloading all the information that it needs. And now it has started a listener where it's going to pretend to be a Postgres server, and it's going to pretend to be an HTTP provider. Now, I'm going to run that same endpoint that I ran before that was causing me issues, just using kind of a simple test script. And what happens this time is I'm actually in the debugger. I'm running my service. I ran the same transaction that I saw in production, and all the data is there in the database, and it's a perfect replica. And I can now walk through my code and try to figure out what's going on, just like I was in production, but there's nothing I can do to actually break anything. So I promised you it wasn't magic. Hopefully this satisfies your curiosity, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you.